Hello, Aquarius, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot. My name is Laura, and these will be your intuitive insights, your mid-month check-in for March, leading into the beginning of April 2023. This reading will be for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, so by all means, if you know your three major placements, you can listen to any and all of the readings that apply, as each one may resonate for you differently. And as always, before we get started, please do keep in mind these readings are general in nature. That means they're meant to apply to a more broad collective of individuals, and not necessarily every detail that comes through will be for you. I highly recommend you take anything and everything that does resonate for you, however that might connect to your current circumstances. Definitely use your personal discretion in determining what might be most beneficial to you, and simply leave the rest if it doesn't resonate. It's likely not for you. So Aquarius, happy March. I hope you're all doing well. I also have to say happy belated birthday. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to record any readings during Aquarius season, so hopefully we're gonna get some good messages for you today and we'll make up for that. But yeah, I hope you're all doing well. I'm super excited to be here. I've got your oracle message. We will pull some tarot. I'll share a couple of channeled messages that I connected with before beginning your reading, and we'll finish off with a couple of oracle messages as some additional insight and advice to tie things together. So Aquarius, before we get into your cards, I'm going to quickly share with you the energy that I was picking up on, my kind of energetic impression as I was connecting to your energy and preparing for your reading. The very first thing that came through was like let me clear my throat, or like a need to clear my throat, something to do with the throat, and potentially like blockage. So that could be like coughing, clearing your throat. That could be something that interferes with the throat. It could even be like respiratory. But the other thing that came is, it's like, if it's not like a physical or like medical kind of thing in connection to the throat, it could also have to do with your throat chakra. So basically just like your ability to speak and communicate with truth and authenticity and clarity. So if it might be worth seeing like if and how that might resonate for you. Like, how do you feel you're able to express yourself? Is there anything that inhibits your ability to speak with that kind of fair, truth and clarity? But yeah, I don't know. That's just what came through. So putting it out there. The other thing that I was picking up on was a sense of kind of like buzzing, like being excited about something. I didn't really get a whole lot of clarity or specific details on what that might be, but my kind of like the top two vibes that were coming through was it could be related to like a relationship, somebody that you might have recently met or be meeting, or maybe like someone that you're early on in a relationship with, something like that. Or it could be related to work, like a job opportunity for promotion, something like that. But yes, yeah, it was just kind of like this buzzing, this excitement, like looking forward to either hearing from someone or like kind of waiting on some kind of news or waiting on some kind of communication. And it kind of made me think of like, when there's like one thing specifically, like a specific person that you're hoping to hear back from, every bit of communication, every notification that comes through, it kind of like amplifies that kind of anxiety or excitement, and you're like buzzing even more. And then there's like a sense of disappointment when it's like not the one. So yeah, that was just like kind of the vibe that I was getting. So there could be something or someone specifically that you're looking forward to hearing from or connecting with. The other thing that came through was you may have some kind of connection to amethyst or the color purple, if that's significant to you. I don't know, that just kind of came through on its own. And then I also kind of got this sense of like feeling as though you need to be faster or like more competent or doing things more quickly. And the funny thing is like it was kind of a hurried energy, but it wasn't awfully rushed. It was more just like like I need to get better at this, or I need to be faster at this, or I need to be able to do this more quickly at the same time, kind of thing. Like it was kind of like recognizing a need for focus and like honing how quickly you can do something. And yeah, like the other thing that's this underlying energy, it's like really a sense of nerves, and like pretty strong sense of nerves, because that was the underlying feeling, is like kind of that butterflies, that like somewhat racing heart. And I found myself like having to take really deep breaths because like I just, I wasn't breathing well enough. And I was, yeah, it's just that feeling of excitement. And I started feeling that as soon as like I came into the room to read for you guys. So I don't know. It's I have a feeling it could be about a person, or it could be about a job, or like whatever it is that you've been kind of working to try and manifest. So interesting. So we are going to get into your card. Your oracle message for this month is coming up as by the book. And that's number 11. 11 is a master number. If you're interested in numerology, it might suit you to do a little bit of Googling on the spiritual nature of 11. What that might connect to is that might have a message or might resonate for you. 11 might also be a repeating number that you see over this next little time period. That might be a way of kind of helping you stay on track, or validating you. Something to look out for. But yeah, this is kind of a funny energy for you, Aquarius, because you guys are kind of stereotyped as a sign. And obviously, like, this is just, sun, moon, and rising. We have so many different facets in our chart, and so many different energies that kind of collaborate to help influence our behaviors and so on. But the stereotype for Aquarius tends to be that, nonconformist, rebellious, kind of unique soul. And the funny thing is that this month, what the message that's coming up and the theme that's coming up is like something that you're being asked to connect with and work with is by the book, which is all about kind of just following the rules and recognizing that when there are rules and there's structure and expectations in place, whether they're laws or procedures or whatever the case may be, that, more often than not, they exist for a purpose. They serve a purpose. They either, make it easier or more efficient to carry out a process or reach an end goal, or it keeps everybody on an even playing field, or, there can be any number of reasons why a rule has been written or put into place. And I think it's a really important quality to have, to be able to not necessarily be a skeptic, but to be discerning about rules and laws and how we allow them to impact, and maybe to question and sometimes challenge the ones that could potentially be detrimental or hurtful to like an individual or a group of individuals. But this is kind of saying like your strength is going to be in playing by the book, following the rules, dotting all of your I's, crossing all of your T's, even if it's not necessarily something that you enjoy doing and it's not something that comes naturally to you. It's basically saying there's a benefit in you doing that. And that now is not necessarily the time to rebel or to make noise or to push to like have something overthrown. And especially when it comes to your interactions and relationships with other people, it's saying like now is not a time to try and control a situation or try and, coerce people into doing things the way that you want them done. This is a really, really beautiful time for you to be able to kind of meet a person where they're at and see how they're showing up as a result of, the environment that they were raised in, the types of experiences that they've had, right? And so it's being able to accept that, there are so many different individuals that we run into, and they all have different backgrounds. They have different experiences and strengths and weaknesses, and it doesn't suit us or them to deny that and to try to take our personal preferences and experiences and and project that over, right? So it's a time for kind of meeting other people with understanding, doing your best to find commonalities, and it's a time for compromise, right? It's a time to see like, okay, like, are there any points of connection? Is there anything that we align on? And how do we work together to find a way forward or a solution that's going to be beneficial for both of us, right? Because even if it seems easier to kind of do things your way and to have people kind of fall in line after you, it probably is not going to be the approach that benefits you, right? So, and that tells me that, you know, there may be something to learn from your relationships and from the people that you're interacting with. And if you were to be calling the shots, even if you're competent and capable, right, there's nothing wrong with having leadership skills, but potentially if you were the one to call the shots and kind of take control over the relationship or the interaction, you might be missing out on a really valuable and important opportunity to understand and connect with that person on a deeper level, to have a mutually respectful exchange, and to potentially connect with new information or new perspectives that could be really helpful and beneficial to you, you know, in other arenas. So that's just something to keep in mind. And this is also saying that if there's something that you are trying to manifest, to create, to move toward, if there's a goal that you're kind of, you know, in motion, that you've got emotion like to moving toward, this is saying like, it is perfectly okay not to like reinvent the wheel. Like, even if the idea you have or whatever it is you're trying to create is something that is quite unique or very specific or personal to you, you can still follow the effective routes. Like if it's entrepreneurship or whatever, right? It's like you can still follow in the footsteps of people who have been successful doing something similar. If it's like starting a business or whatever, right? You can still maintain your authenticity and you can still hold that vision in a way that is personal and unique to you. Whether it's entrepreneurship, something you're creating, whether it's, you know, a job you're trying to get, is basically saying like the paths that have been laid out by the people who have gone before you, and those formulas that have been established for success, right? Those are available and those are useful to you. And if you are able to identify and allow yourself to kind of just take, like, you know, follow the trail that's been blazed, right? Instead of feeling like you always have to kind of, you know, hack through the wilderness and blaze your own trail. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's a really good quality to have, and it's really effective in certain circumstances. But this month specifically, for whatever reason, you're being encouraged to kind of like follow the avenues that are already in place, right? And to recognize, like, you know, the structure that's in place, the rules that are in place, the principles, whatever, and make them work for you, right? Use them to your advantage so that you're not expending a huge amount of time and effort and energy trying to find a new way of doing everything. Because sometimes our desire to do something personal to us causes us to overcomplicate things that, you know, the problem has already been resolved. If somebody has already done the work to come up with a solution and then other people have applied that solution and refined it, why would we start all over again, right? Because the groundwork is already done, and that means that we have a formula to apply and we can reserve our energy and our effort for whatever it is that we're trying to create that's unique to us, right? So it's like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Use what's available to you to make your transition or your progression easier, right? And this also speaks not only to like laws and procedures, but it's also like cultural customs. You know, it could be even like the differences in like how people are raised and what specific manners or what specific traditions are important to them, and recognizing that even if we come from different backgrounds where we have different traditions and we have different rules, it's about being able to respect that as important as our own are to us, the way that other people have been raised, it's important to them, right? And one of us is not more right than the other. And so it's about extending the level of respect to other people and their laws and their customs and their rules, and their boundaries as we would want extended to us, right? Instead of saying, well, like, this is the way I was raised, this is what's right, yours is what is wrong. Like, there might be some conflict, or there might be opportunity for conflict over like differences of opinion when it comes to that kind of stuff. And this is kind of just asking you to find the middle ground and recognize that like that experience is going to be unique to everyone. And this is also saying that like even if it doesn't logically make sense to you how, just going by the book and following the prescribed steps is going to get you to where you want to be or bring you the results you're looking for, it's just to trust, right? Because there are also like there are also natural laws that are kind of energetic in nature that we can't necessarily understand and aren't meant to see or understand, but that's what kind of keeps the universe in balance. And it's trusting that by following the steps on the path that's kind of laid out and playing, by the rules, by going by the book, that the laws of like nature are going to balance out anything that is not kind of kosher in that sense. And so I'm going to just read you quickly from the guidebook so that you have an idea. So the universe works within a structure of divine laws and principles that provides a framework for human experience and evolution. The law of abundance, the law of prayer, the law of karma, the law of attraction, the law of thought, the law of compensation, and the law of nature are only a few that are known. These principles create perfect order and operate with a kind of precision beyond human understanding. Even revolution has its place in universal law. Human beings, in turn, have their own laws and customs that vary from culture to culture and family to family. Laws keep social order and govern behavior, reflecting an instinctive understanding that harmony is important. This is a time to learn these laws and conform to them rather than being the rebel and flouting them. When this card appears, submit to structure and follow the rules even if they seem to make no sense. Release resistance, for universal laws will correct any disharmony. Open your eyes to those universal laws and it will be easier to go by the book at this time. So the laws that I kind of had read out, if you want to go back to that portion of the video, if you have any interest in researching them, those kind of like universal laws, that might be something that helps you to kind of maintain faith when you are, following this path that may feel less comfortable to you. But yeah, like I said, this is a really interesting energy. So I guess like, whatever you're dealing with, whether it's at work or with family, or it's if you're focused on personal relationships, whatever the case may be, it's kind of like, playing by the rules and recognizing that it's important that everybody is like kind of on the level playing field, right? Everybody's showing up with integrity, everybody's following the rules, and that's what helps to create harmony. So this could mean that this month is about balancing out some lack of harmony, some disharmony, or maybe just allowing you to step further into alignment, right, with yourself and within your relationships and the opportunities available to you. Okay, so your first card is showing up as the Eight of Wands. Your second is the Seven of Pentacles. And we'll get you one more. Your last card is the Ten of Pentacles. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Four of Pentacles. Okay, so with all these pentacles showing up, this very well could have a lot to do with work. A lot to do with work, what you do for work, how you make money. It could have to do with your finances, your savings, your salary, like how you approach money and financial abundance. And it also has the connection to just like material abundance in general. So that would be, the things that you own, that you spend money on. It's your home foundations, like your house, your car, family, your physical body and health. So it's all kind of governed by the world of the tangible, and the ways that material abundance shows up in our life, that we think about it, feel about it, and how we connect with it, right? Yeah, so you could be really focused on career or making money or like connecting with other avenues to make money. Like perhaps you have like a full-time job and then you've got like a hobby on the side that you've been trying to monetize, or like maybe you've got a few like part-time jobs, or it's like a full-time job and then like another job on the side. Like I have no idea, but you might have more than one way of either trying to like work or create financial stability or bring in money. Or you may not, but um, with the Four of Pentacles here at the bottom of the deck, this is often like the miser card. So this is the underlying energy that's informing what's going on currently. So this could be deep past, it could be something that has been going on for a really long time, or it could be something just more recent that you've been working through. You may still be working through it, but this is all about like our financial stability, what that means to us, right? How we are contributing to the development of our material stability, right? So setting that foundation. So whether it's getting the education required to get the job that you want, to get the money that you want, or like, just putting the work in to save the money to buy the house, or whatever the case may be. So there is a certain amount of stability here, right? With the four, we've kind of got like the four corners of the foundation of the house and the development of a solid structure upon which to build. So there is a sense of like at least some amount of abundance, and perhaps maybe an adequate level of like money or material stability to have you feeling as though like you're stable, but you're not necessarily feeling really abundant, right? You're not necessarily where you want to be, and there might be a desire to have more or connect with more. There might also be a fear, right? A fear of lack, a fear of not having enough, a fear of not being able to connect with more money, better opportunities, or a fear that like you may lose what you do have. Because the thing is, it's like, even if we have stability, for example, it's like, yeah, I'm making enough money that I can like just cover all my bills and have a little bit extra, but like I can't get by on any less than this, right? And so it's like, if we have enough, we might still want more, and then we're afraid of losing what we do have. And if we're afraid of losing what we do have and we cling to that tightly, they say you only lose what you cling to, right? And the more that you focus on lack and not having enough and fear of losing or fear of not connecting with more, as long as that's where your mind is fixated, that is what's going to be inspiring the actions that you take. And so if you're constantly afraid and fearful, you might be limiting yourself and preventing yourself from pursuing or connecting with opportunities for more, because you're so fixated on less. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to see and to feel comfortable and confident connecting with opportunities for abundance if you're really afraid of not having enough or losing it. And this is basically saying like, so she's got her 4 pentacles, right? Her 4 coins in this purse. And there is a sense of peace almost when you look at her, like, okay, like, I've cultivated this much, I have this much, this is enough for me right now, but I'm still going to be moving forward, because she's looking ahead. But the thing is like, if your hands are full trying to grasp on and hold on to the material abundance that you do have, because you feel like, if I don't hold on to it tightly, it's going to disappear or it's going to be taken from me, then you don't have a free hand to receive, right? So you might be in some way interrupting the flow of abundance and your ability to give and receive in some kind of tangible material way. And that could be money, but it also could be your time and effort and energy, because that's the energy that we use to make money, right? And so, yeah, so there could be a sense of like a fear of spending money, a fear of giving of yourself because you're afraid that you're not going to have enough for yourself. And that might, yeah. So I would just say like this has to do with your relationship to abundance versus lack. And what you believe to be true about your ability to connect with more money, to connect with more material goods, to, maybe buy a new house or rent a bigger apartment, or, start a family, like get a promotion. Like this is a challenging energy that can be really hyper conservative out of fear. But so it's kind of like that might be something that you've struggled with or that you're working through. And that's what's informing this. So what's coming up right now is what you need to know is the Eight of Wands. And this is like a kind of a card of fast, inspired movement. And it can also be a lot of communication as well. So that might play into what I was talking about like being excited and like waiting on communication, and like every call that comes through, you're kind of on the edge of your seat because there's something that you're waiting for. This card kind of bodes well with that energy, because this is the fact that like things can happen really quickly, right? So when we're connected to our inspiration, our creativity, the things that light us up, and that could very well be connected to whatever it is you're trying to achieve, whether it's, education or career, or, hitting a certain number in your bank account, or being able to buy that house, or, upscale, whatever the case may be. This is kind of saying like sometimes taking one inspired step forward can really, I don't know the best way to say it. Like it can kind of allow the pieces to fall into place, or the wheel to start turning more quickly, right? So you might think that opportunities are limited, or you might think that things are going to take you forever, and you might have some limiting beliefs that are related to financial abundance or stability or opportunity in the material sense, and you might see that if you're able to get past that and connect to your inspiration and whatever vision it is that is inspiring you to move toward that, you might see that things will start to fall into place more quickly, because it could be that things are ready to go and things are ready to move forward, and you're just not necessarily seeing or experiencing that because you may be really conservative, you may be holding yourself back, or you may be afraid to act. So the Eight of Wands definitely favors action, but inspired and aligned action, authentic action, action that is meaningful to you, not simply doing something for the sake of, we don't want it's material. If the motivation is material in nature, we don't want to get caught up in like ego or pride or vanity, or just doing something to like try and get ahead, right? Like we need to have some kind of connection to it, because that's what helps us manifest, right? Something that's going to be meaningful to us. But yeah, so action is favored, and inspired action. So if there's a step forward that you have felt inspired to take, or like wishing that you could take, maybe this is your sign to consider taking a step forward. And obviously, like, you don't want to be reckless and you don't want to put yourself in a bad spot, right? But this is kind of being able to take those calculated risks and to honor your authenticity. And it's hard to move forward on the path of getting more if you're afraid of it not working out, right? So yeah, so you might have fear that's holding you back, but this is basically saying like there is the opportunity for things to start moving forward, and they could start moving forward really quickly. So there's also a sense of like making sure that you're focused on and you know what you want, because if you take some inspired action and if you allow yourself to move forward, it could kind of cascade, right? It could be like the dam breaking. And even if it is positive in nature and taking you closer to what you want, it's also, having to be ready for that, right? Because even if it comes to receiving abundance, like, and to achieving your goals, right? It's like we have to be in a place where we're able to receive and we're able to accept, and we're not going to self-sabotage or, fall into fear and just basically look our manifestation in the face and say like, I can't receive this, right? So there could be some like inner work to do in relation to that. But then we've got for your challenge this month, the Seven of Pentacles is showing up, and the Seven of Pentacles is kind of like, it's kind of like the work and the time that it takes to make something happen, to achieve a goal, right? So you think about it. So this is, we've got this kind of example of this small little tree or plant that's growing, right? And we see the plant, it's kind of in its infancy, is still relatively small. It's not particularly impressive, and it's not like it's, a giant apple tree with an abundance of fruit, but it's here, right? And we can see that what we see on the surface is just a small portion of it, because there's so much under the surface, right? There's so many seeds. There's such a complex system of roots that allowed this to come to be. And with how deep all of this is underground, it's like, how long ago were these seeds planted? How long did it take for this root system to form? And to form strong enough that it is setting the foundation for a plant, a manifestation that's going to be long lasting, right? And healthy. And so it's basically seeing like what we kind of see in the physical, tangible sense might just be the tip of the iceberg. And it might look relatively small and unimpressive in comparison to the amount of time and effort that has been invested into getting there, right? And so it's like you can't underestimate the power of your manifestation, because there is a lot. But then it's also saying, like, if you're somebody who kind of like sets their eyes on a goal and it's all about like remaining focused and taking the tangible, consistent steps on the daily that need to be taken in order to lay the foundation, plant the seeds, tend the garden to get to where you want to be, you might have a difficult time with just how long that takes, or how much is being kind of woven in darkness. So there might be a long period of time where it's like you're just holding the vision, saying, this is what I want, this is what I'm working toward. And, for example, if it's savings, every day or every paycheck, you're saving a little bit of money and you're trying to cut back on, unnecessary expenditures. And so it's like every day you're showing up and you're doing the work, but you might not necessarily see a huge benefit, right? You might not necessarily see a huge number in your bank account, and you might not see how that's going to contribute to reaching your goal, or you might feel far away from it, or it might feel like I'm working so hard and it's really difficult for me to do this, and I feel like I'm not getting a lot out of it. I'm not seeing a lot. And it might be like, oh, instead of buying the like 4-bedroom house I thought I was going to have, like right now I'm just buying or renting like my first small apartment, right? So it's kind of like there is a process, and it does take time and effort and energy. And that's why it's so important that whatever it is that you are focused on and you're trying to manifest and you're putting that effort into, it's important that it's something that, that you're inspired about, right? Is that you are motivated to achieve. Something that's personal to you, something that you're personally invested in. It's going to be a lot easier to maintain the effort and to move through those periods where it seems as though, maybe your effort isn't paying off, and to know that you're working for something that's going to be really beneficial for you, that you really want. It's going to help you to put the effort in and to continue taking those steps, even when your fears are causing you to question whether or not you're going to get there. Or even if your fears are causing you to question and say like, wow, all of this time, all of this effort, all of this struggle, and I've only got this. And it's saying, but what you're looking at is just the tip of the iceberg. You're not taking into consideration everything that's gone into it, right? And how taking the time to build that solid foundation and to tend this garden so carefully is what's going to allow you to enjoy an even bigger, even beautiful, more beautiful kind of manifestation in the end, right? It's just that the hard part is staying the course and putting in the work to kind of slowly get there, right? Especially when we're not seeing instant gratification or instant results. So yeah, you may question yourself. You may have fears about whether or not you're going to get there, or, you may undermine the amount of effort that you're putting in or your ability to succeed because you feel like you're not as far ahead as you should. But this is really a card about recognizing that the things that you are seeing in your tangible environment, even if it comes to money, even if it comes to like just the most basic material things that you have, it's recognizing what you do have and recognizing that you were the one to create that, right? You took your time and your energy and your intention and you focused it into some kind of action that brought about this tangible result. And so we might focus on how trivial the tangible result is. So this could be, healing after an illness. This could be, your first job after you've graduated school. It could be, yeah, like I was saying, trying to grow that money in your savings account, or, your first major purchase of like a car or a house, something like that. So it's recognizing that it might just seem like a little thing in the big picture of things when we look at how vast our material existence is and how much importance is placed on material goods in our like society. But it's to recognize that it's not just the result, right? It's all of the intention, all of the work, all of the energy, all of the time, all of the fear and doubt that might have come up and threatened to impact the manifestation of whatever this thing is that you powered through, right? And it's recognizing that this is kind of like, it's like an act of magic, right? To have an idea and say, like, I want to buy this thing and I'm going to do what I need to do to save. And it's like, oh, maybe 2 or 3 years later, and it's like, wow, I just, a car, and I spent how much money on it and it took me how long to save. So you might undermine because it doesn't seem significant what you're doing, even though it is super significant that you've put the effort into achieving that goal. So it's recognizing that you are taking your power, you're taking an idea, and you are taking some kind of tangible action in your external environment, and you are bringing that idea to life in your physical environment. And that's a huge thing, right? And it's like, it does take time. And so if this is something that you struggle with, that totally makes sense. But yeah, however that might be showing up as a challenge for you, your recommended energy to kind of help manage this, like your advice in terms of dealing with whatever this energy is and however it might show up to you, is really focusing on your abundance, right? The 10 of Pentacles is an extremely stable, extremely abundant, joyful card. And so abundance comes in all forms. Obviously, we think about financially, we think about, having the nice house, having the nice car, having the nice clothes, going on vacations, having lots of money in your bank account. This is about having a family. So this is kind of like, 2.5 kids and dog and white picket fence and good job and all that kind of stuff. But this is basically recognizing all of the material abundance that exists around you. So it's like, if you're in an apartment, thinking about what your apartment gives to you, what did you need to do in order to be able to afford to like buy or rent this space? And as a result, what is that giving you? Is that giving you warmth and protection and stability that you need in order to be able to focus on the things that you need to do to get further ahead, right? So it's kind of like looking at the big picture, all of the abundance, all of the things that you have in your life that you have been able to connect with and you've been able to achieve, right? So it's like, take a look at everything that you have now and realize that at one point that was an idea. That was just an idea that you conceived in your mind and you eventually had to take action on. And the action and the time and energy that you put into achieving that is what caused that to exist. And so this is evidence that you have manifested, you can manifest, and you will manifest. And that is going to help you remain focused on whatever it is that you're working on now, however far away you may feel from it, or however daunting it may be to get there. This is remembering that it's kind of like big work that we're doing. And it's also the importance of expressing gratitude. So being able to enjoy what we have now. And like I said, abundance comes in many forms. So it could be health. It could be energy, it could be love, it could be inspiration, right? It doesn't have to just be those really obvious material things like goods and home and money, right? So yeah, this is about harmony. And this can also be about family, right? Like appreciating the people in our lives, whether we have a partner, whether it's our parents or siblings, or even just like friends that feel like family. It is allowing ourselves to experience joy and to, basically experience and be grateful for all of the abundance that we have, right? So it's easy to undermine the work that we do in trying to build our lives and to have this happily ever after. when we're constantly focused on the next thing, right? And as soon as we achieve one goal, we're like, okay, on to the next. And we don't necessarily take the time to celebrate everything that it's taken and how big of a deal it is, right? So you might need to take some time to celebrate all of the abundance that you've already been able to attract or manifest or connect with, right? Allow yourself to feel joyful with that, right? And allow yourself to feel, I don't want to say at peace, right? But to feel as though you have enough. The more that you connect with the feeling of abundance, the easier it is to be inspired by and then bring more in, right? Whereas if we're focused on what we don't have, we're kind of gonna consistently be looking for evidence of what we don't have and how we can't have more. And this is saying like you have a lot, right? Even if you don't have exactly what you want, it's being grateful for what you do have and recognizing that that's kind of the key to supercharging your manifestations. And even if you feel like you don't have this happily ever after yet, if that is something that's important to you, right? If that's something that you're trying to work toward manifesting, like the house, the car, the job, the money, the spouse, the family, whatever, it's making sure that you take time to connect with what does that look like and feel like to you, right? What is going to be the most authentic expression of that energy, and how do you connect to the love and the happiness and fulfillment and sense of abundance that you want to connect with? How do you start feeling that now? And allowing yourself to be inspired by that, because that's going to make it a lot more clear in terms of what steps you need to take to get there. It's hard to just be completely disconnected from our end vision and then take an inspired path toward there. So this is saying like, this is all about you and what inspires you, what's most important to you, and kind of maintaining that focus and inspiration, even if you're not sure exactly how things are going to pan out, or what they're going to look like, or how long it's going to take. It's being willing to show up and put the work in anyways, and trust that your vision is being woven, right? Trust that you're going to get there, because really the thing that's most likely to stop you is your own idea about yourself and your ability, right? And it's like if you talk yourself out of it, or you believe you're not capable and you give up on yourself before you get there, then yeah, it's easy not to see, this happily ever after manifest, right? Or if we're not focused on what's meaningful to us, then we could have that happily ever after, but we might not even realize it because we're so busy focusing on the next thing. So yeah, this is really interesting energy. Like I'm still buzzing, so maybe you guys are just excited because this is what you're working toward, and you're seeing that it's possible. And yeah, you might already kind of be in the middle of this. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick moment to share the 3 channeled messages that I intentionally connected with before I began your reading, and then we're going to get you final oracle messages to tie everything together and maybe give a little extra advice. So your first message was, the world is your oyster. So this is very much about accepting opportunity, seeing opportunity, believing that like anything is possible, not limiting yourself in terms of like how things have to be done or how things can be done, how long it'll take, how things need to unfold. So just kind of like having an idea of what it is that you want to experience or what you want to feel, letting that guide you, and really being open to the abundance of ways that things can kind of move forward or materialize, right? Because sometimes things can happen more easily than we would ever imagine, but it's facilitated in a way that we would never expect. So if we have expectations and we try to kind of determine exactly how we're going to get there and what we're going to do, then we can kind of commit ourselves to that, even if it isn't necessarily the best way forward, right? And so that could be part of this, by the book thing, is it's like knowing when to kind of like follow the steps that are obvious, but being open to a new approach, right? And trusting that you can kind of navigate your way. But yeah, so it's like not boxing yourself in, not setting too many expectations or limitations, because it's like really being open to opportunity. And it's like the universe might surprise you, right? And whatever you're trying to work on or manifest might come about in a really unexpected way. But if you tell yourself it's not possible, or you might miss out on opportunities for things to move more smoothly, right? So, and that might be kind of playing by the rules instead of feeling like you have to do everything yourself, right? The next message that came through was forgiving past transgressions. So this could be like self-reflective, like forgiving yourself for mistakes that you feel like you made, or times like maybe you did the wrong thing, maybe you kind of paid the price and learned the lesson. This is kind of like looking back on things that you now would do differently, right? So that gives me the impression that if you're able to look back and forgive yourself, then it means that those experiences were not in vain, right? You had experiences, perhaps you felt you made mistakes, but you've been able to learn those lessons, integrate those lessons, and it's impacted your perspective, right? And so you're not necessarily that same person. You're not going to make those same mistakes again. So it's important that, it's realizing hindsight is 2020. And as long as we allow ourselves to learn and grow and to keep moving forward, it's important to look back on past versions of ourselves that maybe we don't align with, or we're not proud of, and recognizing that like we were going through something at that time. We're doing the best we can with what we have. And since we've had those experiences and we now know better, we can grant ourselves forgiveness so that we don't have to live with the weight of like the mistakes we've made in the past. Because if you've learned the lesson, but you punish yourself as though you haven't, you'll tie yourself up in that energy that you've outgrown, and that can really sabotage your progress, right? And so, yeah, and like this is also applying to other people, right? So if other people have, disappointed you or upset you, it's recognizing if and when individuals have, perhaps learned the lesson, perhaps they've grown and matured, and perhaps forgiving them is the best way forward. And obviously that's something that you need to be discerning with, and to ensure that, it's not necessarily like somebody's trying to manipulate you, or, that it's genuine, but it's recognizing that no one's perfect. We all make mistakes and we screw things up and we learn lessons, sometimes the hard way. Sometimes we hurt ourselves and others along the way. But forgiveness is a huge part in moving forward. So if there's anyone that needs to be forgiven in order for a situation to heal, or in order for you to be able to move in a healthier direction, that might be something to reflect on, because there's the opportunity to kind of move on to something bigger and better instead of being tied to like a past energy of hurt, right? And then the final message that came through was mark my words. And that was kind of interesting. So it's kind of like a sense of feeling as though you're right and you're going to be proven right. So you might have some kind of insight or foresight. You might have a feeling that something's going to turn out a certain way. And perhaps you're the only one that sees that, right? Perhaps other people don't see it or believe it. Maybe they don't understand. They could even be really skeptical or combative when it comes to it. But it's like, if there's something specific that you have a sense of clarity or knowing about, even if there's no way of explaining how you know, and even if there's no way of validating that in a tangible way, it's trusting that, if you pick up on something intuitively, or if you can see where things are going, that perhaps you have access to some information, some wisdom and insight that other people don't have, right? And if they're not ready to receive that, yeah, they may not be open to it, but it doesn't mean you need to abandon that for yourself. So this is kind of a sense of, either you might be in that position now where you know something and you're like, mark my words, this is going to happen. And then you'll see, right? So it's almost like having to wait for your validation, not because you need the validation, but because other people are questioning you. Or it could be coming into a period of time where the things that you were saying and that you knew were going to happen are starting to come true, and the people who kind of doubted you, it's going back to that, right? Like, let's mark this down for future so that when it happens, we've got record of the fact that I was right, which is kind of a funny energy. Yeah, really interesting. Okay, so we're going to get this reading finished off. I'm going to give you 2 oracle messages, which I'm going to read directly from the book, and you can see if and how they resonate for you. Because this might be a little bit of extra information or insight, even advice that can help you. All right, so your first oracle message is rhodonite. And funny enough, so with numerology, what I was saying, so 4 and 7 is 11. So you've got 2 11s here. So yeah, 11s might be important, might be significant this month. So I'm just going to read this directly from the book, and you can take whatever resonates for you. So the essential meaning: harmony in relationships, easily connecting with others, generosity, reciprocity, discovering hidden talents to share with others. Yeah, so like I was saying, that ability to kind of give and receive is what allows you to build upon this foundation and get to this end goal, right? And also by the book, right? Following the rules, that speaks to harmony in relationships and people showing up and kind of playing by the same rules. So interesting. So relationships help us to reach our destiny and discover our purpose, and people will come into our lives to be our angels on earth, offering love, encouragement, and resources for building the lives we want for ourselves. Now is a time to connect to others in a spirit of generosity, for Rhodonite Spirit is here to help you form healthy partnerships that benefit everyone. Allies can be invisible or come in unexpected guises, so keep your eyes open. Like I was saying, be open to the ways that things might, life might surprise you. Listen to that little voice inside nudging you to reach out and to extend a hand to someone you feel a connection to. This person might have invaluable ideas or solutions to offer you, or be the inspiration that helps you to find courage to move into unfamiliar territory and express gifts you may not have known you had. The conscious universe works through people, so think about connecting today. If not to an old friend or someone you love, then to someone you've been too shy to approach. Heal the belief that you should do it all yourself. We're in this together. We are meant to work in partnership, exchanging our gifts to better the whole world. Yeah, so there might be somebody that you're drawn to, somebody that you just met, or that you from your past, that you might be curious to connect with, right? They might have some information for you. If there's someone that you feel drawn to, it's basically saying like, this is the green light to reach out, and not to hold yourself back, because there's probably, if you're drawn to somebody, there's probably there's something for you there, probably something for them too. Relationship message: all of us have gifts to share and a deep longing to be needed, so open up to a partnership that allows both of you to give and receive. Now is a time for you to reach out and take what is freely offered. So receiving and continual flow, and to recognize the continual flow of reciprocity between you and the people in your life. If you are feeling too enmeshed with someone and wondering where you end and that person begins, spend a little time connecting with Rhodonite Spirit to reestablish healthy yet fluid boundaries that allow a balance between you and the people you care about. When you are generous yet aware of your worth, giving with a healthy sense of self, you attract those who respond in kind. And prosperity. Remember that healer you meant to check out? The advisor you said you wanted to contact? Rhodonite Spirit has come to say now's the time to reach out. Connect with someone who can help you mend what has become frayed or even broken, so you can ensure your prosperity will flow again. Perhaps it's time you explored some of your hidden talents and revealed them. You are called now to be fearless and generous. Abundant help is available to you, and there is much more you can do to experience wealth. Take a class, learn from an expert in an area where you feel unsure, and soon you will see that you are rich in resources. People will show up with plenty to give: time, money, guidance, whatever it is that you need. Prosperity is your natural state, and in working with others in partnership right now, you'll find it easier to believe that and manifest whatever it is that you value. And then meditation. Rhodonite assists us in identifying our hidden talents. It asks us to embrace them and ascertain how we may use them in heart-based service. This stone reminds us that we each were given a specific gift, and we received it in order to share it with the world. So yeah, you may be feeling like there's something blocking your manifestation or whatever it is that you're trying to do. And this is kind of saying like there are avenues available to you. There are people, there are courses, there are, advisors to connect with. So if you can open yourself to, following the path that's laid out for you, then you open yourself to the ability to receive, right? And taking that first step shows that you're serious about connecting with more abundance because you believe that it's out there and you're willing to do what you can to help facilitate that, right? And now we've got your final oracle message is transformation. Things are changing at a cellular level, deep healing. Oh, very interesting. So I'm going to read this directly from the book as well. You can see if that might make sense to you. You may feel like you're going through a period of transformation, right? Like, you know, maybe there are things, could be healing mentally, physically, emotionally. Sorry, it's just taking me a moment to find this in the guidebook so I can read for you guys. But yeah, there might be something that you're kind of, yeah, you might be between jobs, goals, like the achievement of goals, maybe between different versions of yourself. So it's like you're not quite who you were, but you're not yet where you're going. And that can be a challenging place to be. It can be unfamiliar and uncomfortable. Okay, so transformation. Things are changing at a cellular level, deep healing. Things are changing at a cellular level. You are not who you were a year ago or who you soon will be. That's funny. You are in between, emerging, half risen, half falling. Keep doing the work. You are transforming. You will look back at this time with awe. So much is happening in your inner world and within your cells. It's time to release old ways of being that have kept you in fight, flight, freeze mode. To choose a new way of being where trauma is not the driving force. Old childhood patterns are rising up to be healed. As you allow yourself to observe them and feel them without attachment, they loosen their grip and fall away. You are being called to find new ways to self-soothe. Saturn and the Black Madonna and the African goddess Ocean reflect or influence this card. Saturn represents destruction and transformation. The Black Madonna represents the underground and all that has been cast aside, and Ocean represents the tender love of the original mother. A rethreading is happening, healing at the deepest of levels. While you are in this phase, don't put yourself under pressure to perform. You may need to review your relationship with your body, perhaps even shifting your diet or exercise regime, or getting energetic healing support. You may also need to consider some type of emotional support, as issues from your childhood may come up to be healed. You are deeply loved. And then there's an activation. If you feel interested in doing it, it advises to hold the card on your heart and say the following. So if you want to do that, I'll hold it up and you can just envision yourself doing that. So it says, I allow myself to receive the deepest healing and transformation for change to happen at a cellular level. Interesting. So this is kind of affirmation that whatever it is that you're struggling with, it's big work, right? It's like, yeah, you could be in the process of healing generational trauma, childhood trauma, perhaps a lot of the things that have caused you to struggle or to hold yourself back are related to some type of pain or trauma from your past that perhaps you either haven't been aware of or you've been trying to soothe in ways that are not helpful. So yeah, if there's a lot coming up, if there's a lot of emotions, if there's a lot of challenges, this is saying like whatever's coming up is coming up to be released because it's not serving you, and it can be really uncomfortable, but the more that you allow yourself to kind of feel and honor and move through that energy and just take care of yourself on a really deep level, it's not going to last forever. You know, the most difficult part of that transformation is the shedding of the old, and our ability to kind of say like, as much as this hurt me and as much as this is a part of my identity, it's not serving me, right? So to process the emotions that come with it and to eventually get to the point where we have to actively say like, I'm gonna leave this behind. And it doesn't mean that it's gone, but when the triggers arise, it's remembering like, I don't want to repeat this energy. I don't want to repeat these cycles. I've learned these lessons and I know these things don't serve me and I need to consciously do things differently. And so that is what's going to kind of open up space for new energy to come in, right? So we have to kind of let go and close the door in order to have, we have to let go of what we're holding on to in order to be open to receiving something new and better and hopefully more aligned, right? So I'm going to get you just a couple of affirmations to finish things off. These affirmations might be helpful to you right now or as you move through the month. So it might be worth making note and keeping them on hand for a later date. Sorry for my sighing. I just have half of my cards were like flipped over. So we'll get you maybe 3 affirmations and we'll finish everything. Okay, so your first, I pray before I pay. And so I think this is important in terms of recognizing abundance, connecting with gratitude before we try to connect with more, especially when it comes to money, being mindful of what you're buying, you know, valuing not only what you're about to acquire, but the money that you're going to spend and the time and effort and energy and intention that it took you to manifest that. It's kind of just like gratitude for all things. And this can also be like expressing gratitude and connecting with what's most important to us before we make a decision that could potentially impact us in a detrimental way. My eyes will see what I desire. So this is all like what you are focusing on, right? What you're thinking about the most, whether positive or negative, is ultimately what you're going to see the most of in your external environment. So if you are not happy with what you're seeing in your external environment, it could just be as easy as making a conscious decision to focus on like what it is you want to feel, what you want to see, and starting to look for it, right? We're kind of taught that like life just, you know, it's like life is just either good or bad. And it's recognizing that we have a little bit more power than a lot of times we're led to believe. And even if we're not sure what action to take to improve our external circumstances, a lot of time it starts with the feeling first. And so if we can see that we're not happy, instead of focusing on what we're not happy and what we don't like, which is kind of a surefire way to make it stick around, we can start to focus on what it is that we want. What do we want to see? What do we want to feel? What do we want to experience? And because we're connecting to that energy, that's what we're going to be looking for. And then we will know what steps to take to connect with more of that in our material existence. And finally, I choose to reinterpret my fears with a more loving perspective. And so, yeah, you may not question your fear and anxiety, right? You may just kind of allow it to subconsciously influence you or just accept it as truth, particularly if it comes to being really fearful and conservative about your resources and your ability to connect with more. And it's recognizing that that might not be something that's true or that's serving you, but it doesn't make it any less real, right? It came from somewhere, whether it's past experiences, things that didn't work out, what your parents ingrained in you, generational trauma. It could be socially. And so it's to recognize that you don't have to be owned by your fear. And sometimes the best way to handle fear and to loosen its grip is to treat ourselves with a little compassion and kindness and understanding, and to recognize why we might have those fears and why they might not be beneficial. So it's like you kind of have to understand what it is and where it comes from in order to be able to work through it. That's the first step. So instead of seeing fear as something that keeps you safe, which a lot of people do, it's recognizing that it could just be a result of some kind of hurt or pain that's unresolved and that's waiting to kind of come to the surface to be released so that you can take action with love rather than fear. Goodness, I feel like this has been a lot, Aquarius. I'm going to leave your reading here. I really, truly hope that this was helpful. If this reading was at all helpful or you enjoyed in any way, the best way to support me is to like this video on YouTube. Also, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think or how it resonated. Beyond that, if there's anyone you could think of that might be interested in my readings, you can feel free to share my channel or my content with them. And make sure you've had a chance to hop on over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot. Subscribe if you want to continue connecting with me here. The more you connect with my energy, the more I'm connecting with yours, and the more likely the readings are to resonate. So So yeah, ensure you're not only subscribed to the channel, but also signed up for notifications, which is that little bell icon that will keep you up to date and notified as new readings are posted. So Aquarius, I hope the remainder of March and beginning of April is good to you. This is like big energy that you're working with. There's a lot of potential and I'm super excited for you. So it's been an absolute pleasure reading for you, and I am so excited to connect with you again next month and see how we might move forward from this. But in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.